All right, so this thing is pretty much done. I have to put a coat of sealer on it, but before I do that, I just got to tune the top a little bit more. This is just me being overly, you know, I can't help myself. I did have to put a few little shims in place. I think there's one right here. I did fill these gaps here with parts I milled. Look like this. So that's a little over an inch thick right here, and that fit right in there, and it's just being held in place with glue. It's very, very stable. Let me get the tripod out. Sorry for all the camera movement. Okay. Camera's pretty far away, but it looks like it's a different color because I've got some warm light up above here hitting this. So it's making this look like it's a different color from the base. But you can see the height, it's 42 inches. It might be about a 1/16 of an inch above 42 inches. This took forever. It's very stable. The top right now is not screwed to the base yet, but if I lean on this, I can't, right now it might be pivoting on the cross member underneath, but I can't get it to tip. And that was the big thing about the base, right? I got the feet at the right length. I've got purple heart underneath there, so I've got 4 points of contact. This is a nice flat part of the floor in the shop. It's like the only spot in the whole shop that's flat. So I know I'm good. And somebody asked when they said, or when I said that the client wanted to finish this and they didn't understand it. That's a way for you to save money. I offer that sometimes because I'll be honest with you. Now, I wasn't going to mention numbers, but I am going to tell you on this. So, because a lot of you guys are going to go, what? That's crazy. $5,000. I don't make that on this because the wood alone was damn near $1,000. And one of the things you need to think about when you're going to make furniture is it's not just the wood. There's all your other expendables, sandpaper, blade wear, all of it. If you're working with super hardwoods like ironwoods, and I do a lot of that, maple, things like that, I have to charge for a whole set of planer knives. I've got to charge for sharpening my saw blades or buying a new saw blade for this because by the end of the project, they're wore out already. And when you factor in the amount of time, it does. I don't even want to think about it. If I'm forced to think about how many days I've put into this and how much, time, this is more like, and I know this sounds ridiculous to some people, but this is more like a $15,000 project. If I was charging what I should be charging for my rate, like per day or something. And it's very hard to do that with this sort of thing, unless, you're working for people that are, super wealthy. So the guy who asked me to make this for him, he's a friend of mine. And he's an attorney, and he's in Arizona, and he kind of he didn't bother me, but he asked about it for a while. He wanted this. And I mentioned to him, I was like, it's going to be real money. And so when we came up with the numbers, he was okay with it, with the understanding that he actually wanted to do the finish. Now, typically, the finish would mean doing all the sanding and everything, but I've done that for him already. And I told him I'd like to put a sealer on it, at least. And the sealer is just a coat of finish. I just want to wipe on some polyurethane. I just got a pain shooting through my eyeball here. I'm so stressed out. So, yeah, because for me to do the real finish on this, it would be days of work still to get that right. And so you can just imagine the amount of time it takes to get something like that correct. My finishes are nothing super fancy. I do a wipe-on polyurethane. This is my favorite product here. They don't sell this in California anymore. They just sell a water-based version, so I got to drive to Nevada or Arizona to get this. It's not an aerosol. It's just a wipe-on. So I don't know why they won't allow this, but California. So, but what I love about this is because it's a thinner base that penetrates the wood. That's what gives you the real depth. So I'll bring a can of this with me. Might not be a full can, but my client will be able to just go to Home Depot or Lowe's or something like that in Arizona and pick up more of it and apply it. And he's going to watch this, so I hope you like this, Andrew. And the trick to it is to wipe on, tack it off with a tack cloth and wipe on 2-3 coats. You can put 4 coats on if you want without sanding. Then you want to sand it. And when you sand it, you want to use like a 400 grit or a 600 grit sandpaper, nice and fine, with a block, and then get all the dust off, vacuum it off, tack that off, and then put a final coat on it. If you feel like you need more, you can sand between coats at that point. The reason I say that is, the instructions tell you to sand between every coat. Problem is, you put your first coat on, you sand right through the finish. Part of the reason they tell you to do that is because when you put the first coat on, typically it raises the grain. But what I do is I sand this out, and then I raise the grain with water. And then I sand it out again, so that when I put the first coat of that on, it doesn't typically raise the grain too much. In this case, again, not so important. I know Andrew, he says he wants to do this, and I'm sure he's 100% capable of it. He did ask if I could make him some plant stands, and I don't have the scrap for it. The only scrap I have are pretty much cut-offs like this, these short little block pieces, and some weird triangle parts. So what I'll do, Andrew, is I'll bring you the scrap I have if you want to make something. Keep in mind, if I took the time to make plant stands out of scrap, it's going to take a day. They'd be the most expensive plant stands you've ever seen. So let's not get into that. But I'll bring all that to him, and he'll be able to knock this out. I kind of wish I was doing the finish so you guys can see it. But tomorrow, what there will be is, and you're not going to see it here, but what I will do is I'll do snapshots of this when I get the finish on the first coat, because it'll richen it up a bit, and I'll put those on Instagram for you. All right, and this will all be shared. I also have to upload a bunch of pictures from the process onto the Mike Z Design Facebook page for the picture folder for this project. So once I get all that on there, you guys will be able to see what's going on with it. But yeah, it's pretty sweet. And good news too, I did get a deposit. It's not here yet, so there's a chance I might end up driving this thing to Arizona in the next couple days. I'll have to talk with Andrew about that and line things up, because next week I'll be working on some other stuff finally, which is good. But anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this thing, seeing it. It's a nice short video for you. I'm kind of talked out after Sunday's the Sunday chat video. That was a lot, and there's even more stuff that I wanted to talk about with people and circumstances where some of you are going to be like, I had one comment where a guy doesn't believe what I'm saying, and that's fine. Don't care. I've got pictures that prove pretty much most of what I'm telling people. I've always been a shutterbug, even before we had cell phones. But some of this is going to be out there, and it is going to be hard for you guys to believe. But okay, matter of fact, I just talked to a guy who is, he runs the Viper Room up there, and he's pals with Johnny Depp. It's kind of funny because he does the makeup and everything like him too. He's a really cool guy. His name is Mark. And I was thinking about the watch cuffs because I was watching Platoon the other day, and I noticed a lot of the supporting cast are wearing leather watch cuffs in that film. And I was thinking, who do I know that was in that movie? I know one guy. I used to see him at the free jazz thing at LACMA. And Ernie? No, not Ernie. I can't think of his name, but he was the black guy in They Live with Rowdy Piper. He's been in a bunch of stuff. He's a great actor. And he was in Platoon. I thought if I ran into him, I could ask him, because I want to know what the story is about why the supporting cast is all wearing these leather watch cuffs. And I thought, well, I know a guy who's tight with Johnny Depp. So I sent him a note. I was like, hey, man, if you talk to him, ask him about that. I'd like to know what the story is. And then I realized after he texted me back, he says, I'll put it out there. But he says he's in the UK. He's living in the UK now. You can imagine why. But he says he'll bring it up. The thing is I'm thinking, why don't I try the costumer? So I looked the costumer up, and Catherine Morrison, I think her name is. So I'm going to look for her, see if I can get contact information for her and ask her about that, because I'm curious. Every time I watch a movie now and I see a leather watch cuff, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. It's a great film about with Jimmy Cliff, the kind of the Jamaican jazz guy. It's called The Harder They Come. The Harder They Come, Jimmy Cliff. Look that up, watch that movie. I showed it to a friend of mine because we're bicycle people, And there's a part of that movie that involves a bicycle that he builds, and it gets taken from him, and he stabs a guy, you know, to get his bicycle back. But what I didn't realize is he's also trying to break into the music business. What I didn't realize was the guy who runs the music business wears 2 or 3 different watch cuffs with watches in that movie. So I'm in the habit now of taking screenshots, you know, because I want to do some videos talking about that. Off on a tangent, I realize. So, yeah. Anyhow, I'm just bringing that up. These are like previews for my upcoming videos for you guys. Oh, you know what? Let's brand this sucker. All right. I would like to also brand this on the base somewhere. So, Andrew, if you're watching this, let me know, because I'd like to brand it. I wouldn't mind branding it someplace more prominent on the base. Possibly on one of the feet on the bottom, or on the thing. I can put it on one of the cross. I'm just going to do that right now. And then I'll show you guys these up close. All right, not bad. A little light on that second one. Check it out. I'll sand that out a bit. She's got a little char on her. Los Angeles, California. It's got the website underneath. It's Functional Art, Mike Z Design. Yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed this, even though I didn't keep it just to the table. And have a great day. Be good to one another. Look for the pictures on Instagram tomorrow, and on the YouTube channel. Bye for now.